Welcome to another week of Barstool Perspective, where we give you a rundown of the last week's news and booze and various random other stuff. You will notice that either Brett Coleman Baker had an astoundingly successful surgery, or this is Lindsay Bonadonna, guest host extraordinaire.
Cheers. Yes. Hello, everyone. Lindsay here, former craft beer maven. Worked in the beer industry for a number of years, turned health coach and entrepreneur, but still believe that beer can be a part of a healthy lifestyle.
And someone that I still like a lot despite your toxic optimism. We typically don't focus on really local news, Lindsay, but I do want to start with a local news story, not because it's relevant to anybody else, but because it really doesn't matter where it happened. It's just a fantastic story.
Let's go for it.
This guy this week in the little town of Bellevue, Kentucky, which is right across the river from Cincinnati, and he took a stolen car and he backed it into the front of the liquor store closest to my house that I affectionately refer to as White Trash Liquor. And, you know, this middle of the night, the small town Bellevue, Kentucky, they got nothing else going on. He smashes into the liquor store after it's closed. He gets out, he walks in. And when you walk into that liquor store from where he smashed into it, there's a fantastic array of bourbons and good liquor there.
Okay.
This guy...
Which is what I would go for.
It's what I'd go for. This guy grabs 2 handles of Fireball. He walks out to the stolen car in the parking lot that he just used to smash through the window of the liquor store, and he downs both of these handles of Fireball, and then he takes off. And it takes the cops so long to get there for inexplicable reasons that they're hanging around when one of them bothers to notice, oh, yeah, that's the car that just ran into the liquor store cruising down the street. So they take after him, and a slow speed chase ensues. At some point, he stops on a bridge. They throw one of those sticks that burst your tires in front of it in case he took off, which he did. He got back in his car, burst all the tires, continues all full of Fireball to slowly drive into downtown Cincinnati until he is surrounded and apprehended. And I just want to ask of you, what's your favorite part of this story?
So I'm just thinking, how did this dude do all of that after drinking 2 handles of Fireball is my first question.
How do you even get it down? I know. That's so much Fireball. I can't do a shot of that.
And then I think about some of the logistics. So stolen car, number one. Stolen car ran into a liquor store, right? So broken glass, probably bricks involved. 2 handles of Fireball in the driver.
Everything's all lit up. There's a Kroger across the street.
How is he not immediately caught? That feels like easy pickings to me.
I think one of the morals of this story is that if you're going to commit a blatant, flagrant crime, Bellevue, Kentucky is a good place to do it.
I think maybe. Or is it? Let's see how this plays out.
Yeah.
Either way, 2 handles of Fireball, I would be dead. I would be beyond dead. If there's something beyond that, that's what I would be.
I don't support any of that behavior, but I guess I have to say, cheers to you, sir.
Yeah, cheers.
You need all the luck you can get.
I know, holy crap.
Beer news, Lindsay, continues to be super sad.
Sad.
The Super Bowl showed far less than predicted sales. So February sales are down. Year over year, beer by volume is down 5.2%.
So what do you think people were drinking then during the Super Bowl?
Probably a lot of RTDs and, twisted teas. I think that type of nonsense. Seltzers, White Claw, or following the increasing trend and not drinking at all.
Yeah. Who would have thought that would become a trend?
Not me.
Yeah.
There are only 2 beer segments that are showing meaningful growth. Can you guess what they are?
Probably, is it wheat beer, like styles?
Yeah, I mean, you can, yes.
I mean, I'm going to say probably yellow fizzies.
Categories. Yeah.
And wheat beers.
Those are nice guesses. I think from a craft standpoint, wheats probably are doing better. But the answer is super premium as a category.
Yes.
Which, as an old school beer person, you know that word super premium is horseshit. It means those beers that are in the level of like Budweiser, Miller.
Yes.
It's an industry term. But so your yellow fizzies is right, but it's being driven almost entirely by Mick Ultra.
Healthy yellow fizzies.
Healthy yellow fizzies.
Yes.
And non-alcoholic.
Hey, shit, why? I just even...
Yep.
Okay.
Those are the only
Crazy.
two that are doing better. Mick Ultra and non-alcoholic.
So it's either I'm going to drink marginally...
Yeah,
marketing
almost
better,
not
yes,
beer or
or
not beer.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
They both probably taste the same, honestly.
Yeah, it's not. Actually, some of those NAs probably have a lot more flavor.
Yeah, I
than,
would agree.
Yeah, I've had some of those athletics. I mean, they're okay. You know, they're sort of like hopped up. You get the IPAs, they're like a hopped up
Something
seltzer.
interesting to drink if you don't want to drink. The Heineken one actually is pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't had it. Boston Beer Company, those guys are hurting like everybody else, but they are making some decisions that I think are probably wise financially. Their Twisted Tea is continuing to grow, although at a slower pace, but it's doing great. People love that shit because it's sugary and, you know, tastes like tea.
I am surprised that there aren't more, unless I don't know about them, like variations. Like I feel like flavor variations could be a way to continue to grow that.
Yeah, and I think they're leaning into that. They're winding down their seltzer that never did particularly well. And they are leaning heavily into Sun Cruiser. And I think that's probably where they're going with that. So Sun Cruiser is an RTD rather than a fermented beverage, but it's basically still just twisted tea. But the fact that it's vodka based probably lets them do more variations in flavors.
Yes, yeah. I'm curious. I have not tried Sun Cruiser yet.
I haven't either, and I'm probably not gonna.
Maybe next time.
They also say, interestingly enough, that cannabis remains an area of interest. So we here at Barstool Perspective have theorized that Sam Adams just bought up a huge chunk of the west end of Cincinnati because we suspect that they're about to build a national weed beverage facility.
Oh, I do not know about this.
Yeah. Yeah, they bought lots and lots of blocks adjacent to their existing brewery. And, you know, in terms of when you look at what they're doing, okay, Sun Cruiser's doing well, but it's not volume.
Right.
It offsets anything else. So what are they looking to expand into? Hardcore? We think weed.
I
Do you
agree.
have thoughts?
I agree with that, and I think it would be a smart move because that doesn't seem. I think right now that industry, the cannabis industry, is still messy enough to be able to get in and do some stuff before more strict rules and regulations come into play. But it's surprising to me that there has not been a bigger kind of division from the beginning between alcohol and cannabis. So I think we're going to see more and more breweries, like the company up in Canada, yes, that has been buying stuff. I think get into that.
Yeah, I think one of those two companies are going to be the ones that really grab a hold of the weed market.
Yes, yeah. I think it would be cool if it's Sam Adams.
Yeah, or the one that we're both blanking on the name of from Canada that Brett and I have encouraged people to buy stock in.
Yes.
We haven't encouraged anybody to buy stock, for the record.
Yes.
But we talk about it. We keep buying that stock, and it keeps just, you know, not responding to our love.
One
But,
day. One day.
I am tenacious. I am not tall. I am not handsome. I am not rich. But I am tenacious.
Yes. Sounds like you're optimistic about this.
Yeah. I mean, as far as you can be optimistic about anything these days.
Yeah.
In the economics of fear, Lindsay.
I'm curious about this headline.
Hispanic and Latino consumers are showing reduced consumer confidence, specifically as a segment, and they're starting to buy less. And that's regardless of legality status, but it seems to be driven not so much by any direct economic reasons right now. It's more a sort of culture of fear that's permeating a lot of those communities.
Yeah.
So they're kind of, we may need to save money for a rainy day. We're cutting back. We're engaging less on a retail level. So, I don't know what that means overall for the economy, but there are some companies like Constellation Brands,
Yeah.
one of the big guys, roughly 36% of their U.S. sales are Hispanic, Latino demographics. So I don't know that that's good news for those guys. But that company's interesting on several levels. We talked about the fact that Warren Buffett, just a couple weeks ago, even with the announcement of all these tariffs, Warren Buffett decided to buy a boatload of Constellation Brands. And, their biggest sellers are Modelo and Corona. They also own Pacifico. The Corona thing gets a little complicated. AB
Yes,
owns some of it.
Yeah, it's
but,
weird.
But definitely Modelo and Pacifico, that's their thing. And Modelo is imported. And the Corona that they sell is imported. And Pacifico is imported. They also do this Victory brand
Oh, yeah.
that I don't find to be good beer.
Victory or Victoria?
Victoria.
Right?
Yeah, you're right.
I know. Glad somebody is here.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody has to know what they're talking about. Pacifico is really pulling ahead. Modelo has been the big name with Constellation Brands for the past few years. Pacifico is up 19% year over year. That
That's-
is massive growth.
It's a great beer. Pacifico's my...
Actually, for those Mexican beers, I think it's hands down the best.
Yeah, I think
We've
so,
been
too.
tasting those. We've been doing these beer offs,
Yeah.
the best, worst beers in the world. And I forget what we paired Pacifico against. It lost, but it was just because those two beers were they were really good comparable beers. I think Pacifico is better than almost any of the rest of the Mexican beers.
I agree.
So does apparently the American public because they are up 19%. But from a Constellation brand growth standpoint, the bad news is that a third of that growth is coming from taking away sales from Corona and Modelo. So I don't know what that's about other than maybe people like Mexican beers because they're Mexican beers, but they have decided to actually decide what they drink based on how it tastes for a change.
Possibly. Yeah, because I don't feel like there's been any changes in marketing necessarily.
No, Modelo sucks equally today as it did last year and the year before. I don't think there's been, Constellation isn't like pushing Pacifico to cannibalize Modelo,
Right.
but it's what's happening.
At least I guess they're all in the same company at the end of the day.
So then on top of that, you have tariffs, and everything is about tariffs. It's a beautiful word, Lindsay. I hear people tell me all the time, it's a beautiful word, tariffs. Yeah. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves it. The market loves it. Industry loves it. People, just children like to say the word tariff. It's such a beautiful word. Will there be tariffs? Will there not be tariffs? What will they be on? What countries will they be on? What will the impact? We don't know. Nobody knows. Depends on the day of the week, on how much Diet Coke the President of the United States is on that particular day. When it comes to Constellation, Chief Customer Officer Bill Rinsby, I don't know what the hell that title means, he says that they're ready for tariffs if they hit Constellation. Quote, the industry is facing ominous, stormy conditions, but we can't allow the current climate to obscure this wave of growth that continues despite the storms above. And our rate of growth is going to continue. Constellation's going to do great. As I said, Warren Buffett obviously believes that. He's bought into a lot of it. But, so far, in the month of February, it went down from about $330 to around about $210 a share right now.
I wonder if these tariffs happen, if that would change where the beer is brewed. Like if we would see more contract brewing happening in the United States, which would then, I don't know. I don't even know if people care anymore where their beer is brewed, to be honest. If that's still a thing or not, like it was back in the day?
Yeah, I don't think they do, and I think they should. And, it's one of the reasons that I drink Narragansett. I mean, it's a perfectly good yellow beer. It's also entirely, genuinely United States made. So, I like to support it for that reason. If tariffs, in seriousness, the point of tariffs is supposed to be that, right? You make it onerous to import a beer, then those companies, if you have a brand like Modelo, then they're going to invest in contract brewing with Anheuser-Busch or Miller or somebody, and they're going to expand operations, and it's going to create American jobs, etc. So, that's the theory of it. And I think sometimes with some products, if you're doing it thoughtfully and you're doing it strategically, that can work, particularly over time. Now, if you're doing it as just a blanket shotgun measure, it doesn't make any sense.
But will it taste the same?
If it's contract brewed somewhere else, if it's Modelo, does it matter? Will it taste like skunked piss?
Could it be better?
I could do it. We could probably make it in Kentucky. We got horses and water. Canada.
You're wearing... Did you wear this
Yeah, well,
specifically because of this next article?
I have started, but no in general. General sport, I've started the 11th province movement. I want at least the Midwest. I'm thinking like Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky to become the 11th province of Canada. I personally am willing to immediately surrender the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So come on in, Justin, and force upon us your rational healthcare system and your courtesy and general niceness.
Did you know that I am like kind of honorary Canadian? Because I'm from Buffalo originally, so it's
it's close.
Like by proximity.
Right. Yes. You've given us some Buffalo wisdom in the past.
Wait.
Yeah.
In high school, I was in concert choir. This is how Canadian that I am.
Mm-hmm.
You had to audition to be in concert choir. Do you know what my audition song was?
The Canadian national anthem?
Correct. And do you know why I knew it? Because I would go to hockey games all the time. So there we go.
Great. Well, Canada is pissed off at these tariffs, and justifiably so, because they don't make any goddamn sense. But some of the provinces specifically, in Canada, a lot of liquor stores, a lot of provinces do what we do in a lot of states in the United States, where the liquor stores are controlled by the state.
Yes.
And the state decides what gets purchased and what doesn't. So several provinces, including Ontario, which has a gazillion people in it, they are promising to completely remove all American-made spirits and wine from their shelves, cease buying any of it if these tariffs go into effect. So they did that for a few days because, Trump passes these tariffs, enforces these tariffs, and then the stock market crashes and everybody says these serve no purpose and we can't find one single economist that can explain what the fuck you're doing. And so he reverses them for a while or suspends them. So, people are under this constant threat is he going to do this just nuclear bomb to the entire North American economy, or isn't he? And things go up and down. But for a while, some of these provinces did pull like every American spirit and wine off the shelves.
Bourbon,
wine. Tennessee liquor, California wines in particular. And actually probably you get up around, New York has a pretty good wine industry these days.
Yeah.
So New York and Michigan, those wine industries are probably going to get hit pretty hard. Kentucky, we've said this stat in the past, but 22% of everything made in Kentucky, because a lot of it's bourbon, 22% of everything made in Kentucky that is sold outside of Kentucky goes to Canada.
What?
Yeah. So it's going to be pretty disastrous to the Kentucky economy.
Yes.
It's going to hurt California. The CEO of Brown-Forman in Tennessee, Brown-Forman makes Jack Daniels. He called this threat by Canada, quote, worse than a tariff and a disproportionate response. Which I want to say in my best Tennessee accent, but I don't really have one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it disproportionate? I mean, do you think Canada is out of line here?
I don't know, man. I feel like there is just no. I don't feel like that response is out of line, but
No.
I feel like the first shot fired maybe needs to be thought of like a lot more as it comes down to like the everyday person and the everyday business. And like Brown-Forman's a huge company, but it's not the biggest company. Do you know what I mean? And like how that actually impacts the day to day of everyone, and just creating more division at the end of the day. So I mean, it's like
there's a lot of trickle down pain for a lot of people.
Yes.
And I mean, is it disproportionate? Because if this 25% tariff across the board goes into place, it will effectively collapse the Canadian economy within the year. And I don't think that's good for even aside from the dickishness of it and the short-sightedness of it. I don't think it's good for anybody. It's also going to be very detrimental to the United States economy.
I think too. As you know, I'm a very curious person. I don't feel like I've come across anyone yet that like I would love to just sit down and with an open mind have it be explained to me, because I can't. I'm a pretty smart cookie. I can't wrap my head around it. So, and maybe I'm missing something. It doesn't feel like I'm missing something, but maybe I am missing something. And I see this next headline that you have on there. I would be intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, tariffs go both ways. So the idea of a tariff is that you make it so onerous to import something that it makes it cost effective to produce it domestically. And sometimes with some products, that probably will work. Actually, when it comes to like Mexican beer, it would probably work. But other products, it's not going to. And you're going to see that, what does it mean? Like right now, Canada is happy to import almost all of the bourbon that they sell in Canada.
Right.
But if you make it onerous to bring bourbon into Canada, then is Canada just going to start making good Kentucky-style bourbon?
Possibly.
Well,
and innovation does come from situations like this too.
Innovation does come from situations like this, and the UK, which hasn't even been subject to asinine tariffs yet, is already starting to think this way. Doghouse Distillery in London is starting to produce United States Southern-style whiskeys, targeting specifically making products that are similar to Jack Daniels and Southern Comfort. I personally would target higher, they sort of like, aim high and shoot,
Yeah. Who would you target?
I think that when you target low, I would be trying to make something along a Woodford Trace.
Yeah. Gotcha.
A nice Bullet Rye, that good mid-level bourbon.
Yeah.
I'd be trying to hit that. And it's a big break. I mean, the English, like from a traditional standpoint, the English have been trying to sort of brand geographically English whiskeys. And I think this kind of mucks that up a bit.
Little bit, yeah. But again, I'm curious. What is an English whiskey? Because
It's typically more like it's more like a Scotch.
Okay.
I think.
That
I
makes
mean,
sense.
UK whiskeys overall, you're going to be talking about Scotch. You're going to be talking about something that's peaty and smoky.
Yes.
I got to admit, I don't know what the hell whiskeys they make in England, but I think they're still kind of they're kind of dry, peaty, a little
Yeah.
bit smoky, which I prefer. Do you like Scotch more than bourbon, or vice versa?
I would say bourbon,
Yeah.
but I think it's just because I have not drank enough Scotch. I haven't drank enough bourbon either. That is one where it's like my palate. I'm always a believer. You got to keep on trying things, and eventually your palate will get used to it, or you drink so much that you just don't care anymore about what you're tasting. So either way.
I drank too much of both of them.
Yeah, Scotch is an
But-
intense flavor. I would love, but
Yeah.
it's something I would love to explore because I think it's an interesting flavor that we don't come across regularly.
I think Scotch can be more complex. It's more subtle. Bourbon leans more into the sweetness. I like them both, but so their standards over there. What they're talking about is making liquors that will be at least 51% corn and aged in charred virgin oak barrels. So bourbon standards, being made in jolly old London. I'll spare you that accent as well.
I kind of want to hear the accents. I'm not going to lie.
Japan isn't currently affected by any current tariff threats, but tariff is such a beautiful word that it's thrown around so much that Japanese are preparing for it. Some companies, and I apologize, I went to New York last week and I took the subway, a bunch of different places, and as it turns out, there's like a bunch of germs on those subways.
Germs are definitely a thing.
So I have either a cold that's lasted for days, or perhaps tuberculosis, or perhaps some 19th century illness that has been hanging out down there in the.
I'm sitting really
subways.
close to you, so I hope it's not like a 19th century illness.
I hope
wore my
so.
plague
I
mask.
hope so as well.
I know.
Could be measles. I don't know. I mean, I think I was vaccinated, but who knows anymore? Smallpox, perhaps. Some of these companies, so like Sony, their move is they're importing a lot of stock from Japan into warehouses in the United States to get ahead of any kind of tariffs that
Makes
might
sense.
come to them. Suntory is a more interesting question about how these tariffs and reciprocal tariffs will happen. Suntory makes a bunch of shitty Japanese beer that who cares, nobody's going to drink.
It's like, is that like, no?
I don't think,
Suntory-
no, Sapporo's its own deal.
Yeah, thing.
And who gives a fuck what happens to them? But Suntory makes brands that I've never heard of. They make liquors I've never heard of. They make a whiskey that's probably pretty good.
Yeah.
I've only had Japanese whiskey. The only Japanese whiskeys I've had taste like Scotch.
I've never had a Japanese whiskey.
They're smoky and peaty. I've had some very good Japanese whiskeys. They're not what I would expect to come as a Japanese whiskey. But, they're not making a big dent over here in the bourbon market. What is interesting, though, is that Suntory, in addition to making its own stuff, it's a big importer of both Jim Beam and Maker's Mark. So it really is running that market in Japan.
Interesting. So maybe some changes.
So
there.
if we have tariffs and reciprocal tariffs there, then that's probably going to specifically hurt Jim Beam and Maker's Mark, those are both Seven Hills these days, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Ish.
So we've been through foreign countries, Lindsay.
What's going on here domestically?
Here domestically, in the state of Nebraska,
Is it another fireball?
you would think. You would really think. No, they're actually doing something kind of sane in Nebraska, something that I think will be
Okay.
true to your heart.
I am here for this.
Nebraska is one of those states, like the Commonwealth of Kentucky, where you don't have an option at all whether you want to use a distributor or not.
Okay.
You have to use a distributor. And, we have railed here at Bruce Guys, and you and I have, and you share our opinions about distributorships, which is basically the whole system is just unfair
Super broken, yes.
and irrational,
Yep.
and it's screwing a lot of people, and it's killing a lot of innovation in the industry. Well, Nebraska is considering legislation right now, and it looks like it might pass to get rid of the lock on distributorships. and permit both craft breweries and independent distilleries to start doing self-distribution.
Bad ass.
Yeah. Now, it would still wind up being
Applause.
like Ohio, where you either choose to opt in or opt out.
Yeah.
And distributorships are still artificially limited, and the system's still largely broken. But it would give some of these small distilleries and breweries, and in Nebraska, we're probably talking about distilleries that are maybe more competitive. I don't know, but it would give them the choice and the ability to get into liquor stores and bars.
Pretty
So I think
cool.
it's positive.
I celebrate that.
In the state of Mississippi, where if it's happening in Mississippi, then it should have happened everywhere else already.
All right, let's see. I'm ready for it.
They've just done one thing there, and they're considering another. I'll tell you the one
Is this
that
like
they've
a
done.
good thing?
It is.
Okay.
So they just passed a law that lets residents of Mississippi buy wine shipped from other places. So they can
okay.
now join wine clubs. They can order wine by the case from California or whatever.
Great.
So they've never been able to do that before. There's still some other states that don't let you do that. So shockingly, Mississippi is not the last. But they're doing that. It has this big fat 15.5% tax on top of the rest of the taxes. So it ain't cheap, but you can do it. Legislature is also considering a second radical step around alcohol sales. Can you guess what it is?
They're not going to tax it anymore.
That's definitely not it. Although they do hate taxes down there.
I don't know.
Sunday sales. They are considering the idea, the concept that you might be able to buy alcohol even though it's Jesus' day.
I mean, why not? And some of these laws that are still in place that have not been retired or challenged or anything, ultimately they can just get more tax money if there's more days of sale.
They can. I also think, seriously, when it comes to these Sunday laws, Indiana, which I frequently refer to as the Mississippi of the Midwest, Mississippi without the accent, they just recently did Sunday laws. We're going to do our very last story here and wrap things up. So Kroger Company, we've been covering Kroger for quite a while on various things. As it turns out, if you want to know, what doing good does for you, Lindsay, and how it works in the marketplace, etc., Kroger has been on this train of pure greed all the time, and like active hostility towards its customer base. And if you, as an optimist, would like to believe that that turns out poorly, you are wrong. They are actually up 25% year over year. So Kroger is doing fantastic. Now, despite that, they just forced their CEO, Rodney McMullen, to resign. And so he wasn't technically fired, but he resigned about 5 minutes after the board considered a investigation into his personal conduct. Kroger said that McMullen's conduct was inconsistent with its policies and business ethics. So McMullen ran out the door, handing his resignation from his gazillion-dollar a year job that he has sucked at doing nothing but evil shit for his entire tenure in that position. So, Lindsay, the question is, in irresponsible speculation, what do you think McMullen did?
Well, the question that comes up for me is, how long has he been doing it for? Because, and how long has it not been noticed or swept under the rug or whatever? Because
like a Jimmy Page thing where he's like got a 14-year-old girl chained up in his basement for like the last 3 years.
I feel like, I don't know. I mean, to me, I think the obvious thing always comes up is like sexual harassment, abuse of power, things like that.
Bestiality.
That would be new.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not in the mainstream, but you want to know what? Kroger does things differently. So maybe
I mean,
they're also...
I think based on his innovation in fuckery of the public,
Yeah.
I don't think we can rule bestiality out. I mean, I'm not saying that there's any direct evidence of it. I'm just saying I don't think we can rule it out.
People are saying he fucked a goat.
People are saying he fucked a goat.
Are you
So,
for real?
yeah.
You guys are... Oh, God.
I mean, those people may only be in this room, but it doesn't matter.
I was like, what?
People are saying, both Dan and I have said that it's possible that he fucked a goat. So, we don't know, but this may change your speculation. Later that exact same day, this got a lot less news. Albertsons CEO, Vivek Sankaran, said that he plans to step down on May 1. So, while I like to not like envisioning the goat fornication, I'm guessing that actually we have speculated here in the past that the Albertsons merger was tanked by people within Kroger because once they got all the financial information, it was in their best interest to actually kill that deal and then just cherry pick the companies from Albertsons out of an Albertsons bankruptcy that they were going to force by tanking that deal. Was that, however, an insider deal between these two scumbags? Yeah.
Curious.
Very interesting. I would also like to believe that Vivek fornicates with wildlife. But my more rational speculation
Yeah, some insider stuff.
is that there's a connection. There's some insider trading bullshit between those two people. Kroger is obviously trying to distance itself completely and say this was just, this has nothing to do with us. This guy's bad news. But I don't know. I suspect that, well, in a country that still had like a meaningful Department of Justice, I would suspect that those fuckers might go to prison.
Yeah.
But we're not living in such a country, so they'll probably
Who knows?
get admitted to
Who
the
knows?
cabinet. I don't know. I suspect that they'll probably get a job running the FCC. But
You never know these days.
You never know
friends.
these
That's why got to take it one moment at a time, one beer at a time.
have any parting thoughts, Lindsay Bonadonna?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you do things with good heart and good intention, things turn out a whole lot better. There's my parting thought. And be well.
Lindsay, that's why I love you. Also, there's zero empirical evidence that any of that shit's gonna happen.
I have the proof.
But we love you, people. Have a good week.
Cheers, guys.